Of course, the political situation poses the main risks to the economy and to the currency, because no one really knows who is going to come at the presidential election in 2018.
Hello Filipe, and thank you for joining Duscobby TV. It's always a pleasure to speak to you. Today we're going to look at Brazil, the economy and politics as well, the Euro-US dollar as well as Portugal. But let's start with Brazil, and it's quite an interesting situation at the moment. The economy seems to be doing quite well, but the political situation is again quite strained. Can you tell us what the current situation in Brazil is?
Hello, good morning. Well, regarding the Brazilian real, the currency is a lot stronger than it was, for instance, comparing to early 2016, and has been trading on this 310, 315 reais against the dollar for the last weeks. This strength of real, which is gaining more or less 5% this year against the dollar, could be a bit puzzling given the economic situation and the political situation also. We are now trying to exit a 2-year recession. And of course, in political terms, the situation is completely confusing, and all the noise is nearly absurd at this time. But looking at the economy, for instance, current account is improving month by month, and trade balance are now in historical positive situations. So that explains a bit why real is strengthening, and also this conviction by the majority of the analysts that the worst has already passed. Of course, the political situation poses the main risks to the economy and to the currency, because no one really knows who is going to come at the presidential election in 2018. It could be Lula, it could be Marina, it could be Bolsonaro, Doria. Well, there's a lot of numbers on of names on the table, but no one really knows what's going to happen. Still, given all this situation, I think Brazilian real could be still a buy, and it could be a better buy if we witness a correction and try to buy onto that correction.
Mm-hmm. And moving on to look at the Euro-US dollar market, does the rally still have room on the upside?
Well, we got the first relevant correction this last Friday on the back of a strong payrolls report. Of course, the strong payrolls report was not the main driver of this situation. This kind of rally of the dollar was only possible because the market was too stressed on the long side of the euro. But I would say that unless we broke 1.1610 on the downside, I will still be bullish to the euro, and I think the market is still trying to get to 120 and above those levels. The correlations between euro dollar and the yield spread, the 2-year, 5-year, 10-year spread, has been better in the past than it's now, because in a way political issues are now the key driver of the FX rate, in my opinion. Not that the economy is not important, but some disappointment with President Trump is, for me, the key driver of the market. So unless the political situation gets any better, I think the market will be willing to buy more euros.
And finally, let's finish up with the economy that's closest to home for you, the Portuguese economy. What's going on in Portugal?
Actually, Portuguese economy is doing rather well in the last months. GDP growth rate is now more or less a 3% pace. The unemployment is below 10% and also below the European Union average. And the growth mix is positive because it's based also in net exports and investment. The political landscape has worsened a bit. The government hasn't had an easy month, July and August months. Some problems, some internal problems here arise, but I don't expect a snap election or an early election. So I think the overall economy situation is good because, of course, All the EU economy is growing well also. And the key risk for me is still the high level on debt public, because, for instance, if the ECB changed monetary policy too quick, it could pose a risk to Portuguese public finance. The debt level is still very high, too high, and that's a vulnerability that we have to take into account. But comparing, for instance, with the last 3 years, the Portuguese economy is now doing rather well.
Filipe, thank you so much for speaking with us. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. And if you like this interview and would like to find out more, be sure to head over to dukascopy.tv.